I finally got to one of the favorite cars that I bought almost 2 years ago. I don't know anything about this car at all. I bought it for 500 bucks from an estate sale, but I finally got enough crap moved out of my way. This is a G-body sedan delivery, or I'm thinking about naming it the Sedan de Liberty. My name's Jason, and this is Grease Belly Garage. Come on. There we go. Come on, baby. I guess it started its life as just a regular 1983 Chevy Malibu wagon, whatever they called them. It has a for sale sign on the dashboard. See, I didn't even notice that, but it's not for sale currently. It sat under a tree down in Sarasota, Florida for a long time. It's actually got quite a bit of rust. Like, I don't remember this even being here. The area here used to be a back door, and it's been welded shut, and all the glass has been welded up. At first I thought these wheels were those turbo cast, like Pontiac Trans Am wheels for 82 and 83, but they're not. If anybody has any idea what they might be, feel free to drop a comment and let me know. There's kind of a effort at a roll pan back here, and the license plate box is gone. I smell old gas somewhere. I wonder if it's this. Let's see how many wasp nests are in there. Oh, yep, there's a wasp nest. Oh, developing a hole in the roof now. That's not going to be too good. I didn't even realize there was an exhaust system back here. I was able to grab a used rear glass hatch from a junkyard in Palmetto. And I got this thing a long time ago when I first got this car because it was 100 bucks. These things on eBay and the forums sell for quite a bit of money. And I've already got the hinges on the car, so that's good. Here's a bonus, we've got the key in the back. I'm gonna just climb in there and see what's in there. That's the spare tire area. Some spider webs, a stern wheel, some door hinges, a power steering pump, and the old rear bumper shocks. It all looks bad. All right, away we go. All right. Kirker Automotive Finishes. Oh, there's the remains of the old rear hatch glass. Wow, this is the luckiest I've been in a long time. Stuff, ooh, gross, what was that? Ooh, yuck. I think that was some kind of excrement from some kind of an animal. Actually, not a bad exhaust system here. Just what I need. More Quadrajet parts. Based on what I'm pulling out of here, there might not be anything under the hood. Wiper motor. I may have to get the rest of this stuff from the front side of the car. Get my carcass out of here. Yep, junk. Oh, goodness. At least this tailgate will hold me. Oh, tilt steering wheel. That's for fat people to drive it. Got a cassette player. Get down and dirty. None of the air conditioning is going to work because there's all the vacuum and wiring harnesses. Here's a blower harness. I don't know what's in there. Really gross, it looks like. Oh, that's the plastic front bumper stuff, and not much else. I guess these seats don't fold forward, so that's real convenient. Ah, boy. Oh. Yeah, I tied it down with a Panduit strap 2 years ago. You can cut through those with a pair of tin snips. Problem. Go. Oh yeah. It was hard to resist, but it's all coming back to me now. Okay, I remember being told that this engine was built. Now, built, the word built is an ambiguous term. It could mean something really good or something really pitiful. Edelbrock air cleaner, which is just sitting there. Well, at least this doesn't seem to be locked up. That's good. Yeah, this is definitely a 80s intake, because you got these ported vacuum switches and that EGR accommodation. Got HEI. I'll have to see. I wonder if this is just like a 267 this paint, or a 305 that's painted orange. I can see a transmission behind it, so that's good. Chrome valve covers that were painted over. I gotta move you guys so I can get in here. Well, I'm gonna have to jack this car up. At the moment, I can't see anything. Looks like there might be a drive shaft intact. Okay, missing a transmission linkage, missing power steering, loose water pump and accessories, no radiator hose, starter wiring disconnected, throttle and kickdown cables disconnected, no wiper blades, no wiper motor, no master cylinder, but it's not beefed up anywhere else. May have just been some kind of a custom job. So I think what I'm gonna do is try to identify this engine and see what I'm gonna waste my time with. See what's been spray painted here. It does seem to have fitted headers, so somebody spent a little money on that, and try to figure out what the deal is. Hopefully I'm not wasting any time on a 267. That would be even worse than doing a 305. What we've got here, after looking at the casting number on the rear driver's side of the head, back by the hell housing? Yeah, hell housing. It's a 1401-0202 block, which is a 1980 to 84 Chevy 305. Why somebody painted it and put headers on it and Excel spark plugs and all that, I'll never understand, other than for aesthetic purposes. So I think what I'm gonna do, before I go wasting a whole bunch of time on this thing, see if I can turn the engine over. Here we go with another. And I'm really good at finding 305s and 260s and 267s. I'm gonna throw a wrench on the crank, see if it'll just turn over. There is a hot wire wired into the HEI distributor already, so somebody was doing something with this before the previous owner unfortunately passed away. I'm gonna pick up where he left off. I'm gonna go over to my ratty square body, take out my starting contraption contactor, add a few more wires around to it, and see if I can't pour some flammable fluid down that pie hole there and get this thing to fire, and see what we're working with here. I want it to show me what it's working with. Oh yeah. Thing turns over like butter. Uh-oh. Went and pilfered the parts off the old abandoned by me square body with that bad 305. So I've got my starter here, starter switch, got my ignition switch, and I dropped some other wires on the ground that I'm gonna need as a jumper wire. I'm gonna jumper one of these old rusty alligator clips down to the starter and up to this contactor on this pole here. Probably connect it to the wire that I wire nutted together. And then I'm going to tie into his existing jumper wire in the HEI. But I'm gonna see if it'll turn first, so we'll start with the starter. There is a starter wire on here. Doggone it. Now look what I did. Okay, what we got here in this wires bird's nest wiring harness, we've got this bluish purple wire is going to the starter trigger. So that's good. That means I don't have to get down there and hook anything up. Okay, I'm hooking up these high quality battery cables here, and when I put the negative on, it almost sounds like the blinkers turned on. But I don't think any of that works. I gotta get a screwdriver and pry that apart. Jeez Louise. Okay, the problem is the battery terminal is too small for the negative. It's just right for the positive. Got our positive wire wired into my contactor and my on-off switch. Got the output from the contactor down to the purple wire, jump to the starter to trigger the starter solenoid. I'm not hooking up the HEI yet. I just want to see if this thing will turn over. This battery might be dead for all I know. So let's throw some power to it. Push our button. That turns over good. All right, let me go get this. I'm gonna go get this 20-year-old can of starting fluid and hook the HEI up now. Kind of makes me wonder if any of y'all have ever seen a 305 block that was built up, because it sure sounds healthy to me, or it's the gurgle from the open headers. Oh man, I'm gonna invent some kind of a shelf to put things on when you're doing a revival, because this thing just wants to make me bend over constantly. I'll use a can of coil cleaner to push out my can of starting fluid. There we go. We'll just do a little bit first. Contact. We'll get a little nasty with it this time. Okay. That ought to create a mushroom cloud. Okay. Time for the spark test. Ooh, that negative cable is warm. Yep. We have to put a new terminal end on that. Clean that up a little bit. We'll just pull out the easiest spark plug to get to. We have some pretty yellow spark plugs to go with the orange engine block. I think you're dealing with quality work when you've got engine paint on the spark plug. But hey, we don't even know what the ultimate deal is with this yet. And these have definitely been run before, so that tells me this engine probably does run, and it probably needs one of those miserable, we'll just put this right in that area, probably needs one of those miserable ignition modules, but I think I've got the same exact one right over there in the crapped out square body. I'm also not one of those guys that likes to put my hand on the spark plug wire and aim it everywhere, because I was shocked a whole lot doing air conditioning work with capacitors and 240 volts, and I'd really rather be shocked by an air conditioner than a car, and I don't like being shocked to begin with, so I always avoid that if I can. So here we go. Put this back on. Put the power back on, and I'll try to watch real close. I do not see any spark. Okay. Well, I'll get back on this tomorrow, charge up this battery. Day 2 of working on the sedan, the Liberty. A couple of developments over the past couple of days. Had pretty bad food poisoning, and there's two kinds of food poisoning. There's like food poisoning, and then there's food poisoning from bad chicken salad. Now that I'm completely rehydrated and had a few days to sleep on it, I started thinking about my ignition problem here on this thing. This green ignition wire with the rusty clamp and the unknown terminal connected to the 12-volt supply on the coil, I don't know. I think I'm just going to redo that and try to fire this booger up again. And I think, in the big scheme of things, I'm going to carry on what this guy started with this car. And I'm really not sure what it is, but my best guess is he was going to make this some kind of custom job. At first I thought it was going to be a race car, and it still looks like it was the beginnings of like a bracket race car. Is that what they call it? I'm not really a race guy. I'm going to kind of just pick up where he left off. I mean, anybody that spray paints chrome valve covers orange has got to be, you know, some kind of a genius of some kind. And puts on a flex fan and one of these groovy Edelbrock air cleaners. I mean, he was on to something. But I'm going to try to capture the essence of his project and carry it forward the best that I can. And I think if this thing runs pretty good, I'm just going to, I don't know, go out and blow it up somewhere. I mean, that would be fun, right? And everything will be all set up to just slide in another small block Chevy of some kind. But I think for now, I'm just gonna continue with what we have, dive into this mess and rewire this ignition. I got a couple of battery terminals, and we'll spray some starting fluid down the pie hole once again and see if anything happens at all. All right, after a little sweat and profanity, we got a new, I don't know if this happens to anybody else, but have you ever switched batteries in a car and the stupid terminals won't fit on the other battery when they fit perfectly on the last one? How does that happen? Got a new battery, negative battery terminal. Redid this green wire here connected to my contactor feed. Had to connect it over there, just had to break that factory wiring harness wire. Also had to steal a wire nut from the gbody Cutlass, which is now at my house, which is going to be a partial donor car to this at some point in the future. So now I'm going to see if I've got spark. Still got my spark plug just kind of laying up in here. Try to balance it out somehow where I can see if we get any spark now. So we'll pull this and push this. We got spark. It was a bad wire the whole time, so let's see if this sucker will fire off now. And we're back with the 20-year-old can of starting fluid. So let's give this thing a snout full of this. Make sure I get it all over my fingers. And just see what happens here. Now remember, this is open header, so my neighbors are going to love this. But it is coming up on Cinco de Mayo. I like it. This good old stuff smells good when it burns too. Maybe I'll go get some real gas. Jam it down in there. Then we'll get the fuel pump out. Wow, there's like componentry working on this carburetor. I cannot believe it. Phase 2, or phase 4, phase 6, I guess. This is not the only true fool around this place, I can tell you. I don't think we're gonna have much chance of this thing idling because all the electronic gizmos are not. Oh, this is that can with a child-proof lid. God, man, that food poisoning really took it out of me. Here, I gotta get my. Oh yeah, the can was all swole up again. Why does that happen? Thought I was gonna have to get my 8-year-old grandson to open it for me. Let's see. Let's just pour some of this in here. I'm gonna try not to pour this all around the carburetor like I normally do. Here, we'll just flood it really good like that. Let that settle for just a second. Put my safety aviators on. All right. This video might go viral. At least I think this 305 has some oil pressure. Man, those battery cables get hot quick. And none of them ever like that True Fuel stuff. I don't know why. This stuff's not that bad. I'm gonna fire this one more time, and I think I'm gonna go straight to my other Quadrajet, my backup carburetor, and the electric fuel pump, which I'll put on tomorrow, and see if this thing will idle a little bit. And I think I'll go ahead and pre-lubricate all these engine accessory bolts in case I either have to tighten those up or completely take them off. Never know which. Uh-oh. Oh, we got a smoked battery cable now. Okay, I'm gonna shut it down for tonight because we had a pretty big spark out of the negative battery cable. And I don't think that battery cable's loose on the block, but I do think it's grounded to paint. And I think I'll just skip a couple of steps and go ahead and stick my other Quadrajet on there tomorrow and the electric fuel pump with some fresh gas. Maybe tighten up these bolts, put some water in the radiator, and just see if this thing will just sit and idle for a while. Hopefully it's not in gear. I'll also check the transmission fluid so I don't tear up the pump in it. And then I'll figure out what the next move's gonna be. This one's gonna end up in the garage one way or the other, so I can get a little bit more detailed with this thing. But I'm excited. This is the best week I've ever had food poisoning in my life. I got a new hat, a new pair of sunglasses, a new shirt, a new attitude, and I'm ready to rock and roll on this pig. I've been told by my dermatologist to keep the back of my neck protected from the sun. So the first thing to do is to wrangle the HVAC umbrella. One of my favorite things in the world to do. Oh God. Why did that happen? I might have it the first time this time. Holy moly. Wow, that went really well. Okay, I've gone ahead and started tightening up all the water pump bolts because the water pump seems like it was brand new. And the more I look at this car now, the more I realize somebody started putting this together and just kind of abandoned ship or got sick or something happened part of the way through. There is no shift linkage anymore. There's a gaping hole in the firewall. I'm pretty sure this was being converted to a floor shifter, so I won't be able to drive it until I get something to do that with. And now I'm up to this bolt, or these two bolts down here on this bottom alternator bracket will not stay tight. And I've tried different sizes of bolts, so I'm going to show you a little trick that I do on air conditioning all the time. Don't tell anybody. Works on Tapcons and it works on all kinds of screws. I'm going to attempt to do this one-handed, but that bottom hole below that shiny bolt that you see right there, what I do is I take one of these here zip ties and I stick it in the hole as far as I can get it. And then I take my bolt, in this case, I stole a bolt out of the radiator core support. And you'll have to forgive me because I'm doing this with my safety eaters on. Safety eaters are sunglasses that you use as safety glasses because you're too lazy to go to the shop and get your real safety glasses. Then you start threading this in with a little force. With your left hand when you're right-handed. Now that doesn't even look cross-threaded. Let's see if I can get a ratchet in there with one hand and tighten it up. Oh, I don't even have the right size socket. Huh. Stand by. So we're going to tighten this thing down now. it should get relatively tight. Now I know this doesn't really work on exhaust because plastic melts really bad, but on here, the plastic will melt and kind of create a lock washer, lock nut effect. Okay, now, pretty darn tight. And then what you do is you just go and snap your tail off. Snap your tail off your zip tie, or if you want that cool elementary school sound, you can leave it on there for, remember the playing cards and the bicycle spokes. All the water pump bolts tightened up great though, so we're good there. I pulled the ground cable off, and the bolt going to the timing cover, or to beside the timing cover rather, down on the block, was too short, but this cable actually still looks pretty good. That doesn't really mean anything because, like I've said before, battery cables rot from the inside out, so they can look brand new and be really bad. So I'm gonna just clean this up, and I'm gonna relocate it up here to this. Why is my thumb in the photo? There, okay, there it is. Index finger right there is a grounding bolt. I'm gonna relocate it there for easy access and easy cleanability. Lots of stuff happening off camera. Got alternator belt on. All the accessory bolts that aren't missing are completely tight. My zip tie trick worked really good in those loose ones. Those things, they may never come out again. Got my grandfather's quadrajet bolted up. Got all the wiring harnesses off the header. Fixed the battery cable. Cleaned that up on the bottom side. Anchored it there. That terminal was also loose, and I didn't realize it last night. I flopped the old carburetor off to the side. It's basically worthless now. And the reason I decided to hook a fan belt up to this thing was to let this thing idle for a while and run with a water pump. I think that water pump is going to work just fine. All of the stuff down here, like I said, seems brand new. Of course, I've dropped almost every tool that I've been using and connector and whatnot down on the ground. Check the oil on the engine. It's also good. Another fun fact for you guys, I also found out that if the dipstick on a small block Chevy is on the passenger side, it should be 1980 or newer. 1979 and older is supposed to be on the driver's side. I don't know that to be gospel, but I've read that in several places now, so that also verifies this is a 80 to 84 engine. Check the transmission fluid. It smells like a lower GI bleed. It's bad. I think the transmission might be at least halfway burned up, 3/4, who knows. But I got no way to shift it anyway. I'm not going to be able to deal with that until I can get it inside the shop. I just want to let it sit out here and run for 10 or 15 minutes, let some water circulate through it, see if I can get carbon monoxide poisoning yet again, and then kind of make a further assessment before I roll it in and start doing some other stuff. But I think I'm going to make this my channel mascot car, or MASCAR for short. So earlier today at the auto parts store, when I went to get some supplies for the Sedan de Liberty, I went up there and I had looked up online the alternator belt for an 83 Chevy 305. Most of the belts from that era for the alternator were all 44.5, 45 inches long. I've covered this in another video, but I'm going to show you once again how I learned this a long time ago, back in 1989. This is an old V-belt part number here. The 1.5 is the width of the fattest part of the belt. Pretty sure these are 3/8. The next three numbers, 440, means 44.0 inches. So a 1.5445 would be 3/8 inch wide, 44.5 inch long belt. And then the number down below, the 11 AV 1120, 440 inches converts to about 1,120 millimeters. So the bottom number is metric, top number is standard. And so what I did is I bought a 44, 44.5, a 45.0, and I think I bought a couple other ones too, so I'd have all the bases covered. So I ended up hosting basically symposium about fan belts for about 20 minutes, impromptu at that. But it kind of made me feel like this wise old man. And then I went out and put on these ridiculous sunglasses and put on, Van Halen 5150 in my minivan, and I felt young again, so it's all good now. If you ever want to know what size old V fan belt you need, V groove fan belt, put your adjustment for your alternator, power steering, whatever, about in the middle. Get yourself a string, tie it around there tight, mark it, and then measure, mark that rope or twine or whatever, and then measure that length, and that's going to be your length. Add a half an inch to it in either direction, and you're going to be okay 99% of the time. Man, sounds like we're getting invaded or something. Just doing some last minute things here before I fire this thing up. And as my Georgia relatives would say, it's coming up a cloud, which means a thunderstorm's coming. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get another section of hose too, and another clamp. I'm gonna go on Amazon later and buy $1,000 worth of clamps. I'm so sick of looking for them. Now what's the problem? Get on there. I guess I'll go steal one off the wrecker. I've recently been challenged by another local YouTuber here, Project Adventures. You need to go check out his channel. He's a friend of mine named James. He challenged me to a weight loss competition, which is really a pretty good idea. And I think I got a way to win. I think if I just keep working on all this junk, getting it out of my golf cart and hoofing it back and forth to my garage, I probably ought to build up about, 50,000 steps a day. And getting out in and out of the golf cart is a little bit of a mini workout at times. So, challenge accepted, James. Check out Project Adventures. He comes up with some really cool stuff to tinker around with. Good guy. Oh. It's always good to jam your fuel filter right down in the dirt. I found my little funnel laying in the yard. I don't know what kind of transmission fluid this is. It just says transmission fluid. I think when I order all those clamps later, I'll order $100 worth of funnels. Oh yeah, it's reading now. Before I do anything else, I want to make sure my ground cable is okay this time before I go throwing fuel around. That was quite the spark. Sounded good that time. Maybe not. There, sent all that right into the carburetor. As my friend the Larrynator would say, let's get ready to rumble. Pump's running, carburetor's filling. I don't see any gas spraying anywhere. Let's give it a shot. Chugga chugga. A little water. There we go, a little squirt. Oh. Sparking out of the alternator bracketry. Don't need that at this point, so I'm going to take that apart and clean that up quick. Took the upper alternator bracket off, cleaned all the orange paint off of everything. It should be somewhat better now. Oh yeah. Take some choke out of it. I'll just do that. squirt, squirt. You stupid thing. No, I heard the needle. I heard it fill up that time. Time to start adjusting some carburetor stuff. See what that does. Or doesn't do. Okay, new problem. It's always good to keep the bolts that hold the fan blade onto the water pump tight, or you'll have a gigantic Chinese star flying across the backyard. Away we go. Decided not to stand in front of it in case it's in gear, you know. You gotta think ahead on these things. Maybe I'll just let it sit here and idle and blow up. I'm standing back away from it, make sure everything's kosher. Well, really none of it's kosher, but I'm just standing away from it for a minute or two. Then I'm gonna jam some water in the radiator. I think I'll go ahead and do that right now, just to be sure. Okay, it's officially raining now, and I've got water pouring out of the bottom of the water pump, it appears. So I'm gonna run this just a few more minutes and then shut her down. I think it's the bottom of the water pump, somewhere on the bottom side of the timing cover area. So this thing may have been parked a long time ago for a reason, it appears, but it sounds pretty cool. You got all the sound of a 350 with none of the performance. Kind of a shame because it does run pretty good. You can hear all 130 of those horsepower. Perfect. That ran long enough. So I'm going to put all this stuff up before I get completely walloped by rain. Go charge my battery. And I think I'm just going to wait until I drag this into the shop, figure out the game plan from there. All right, fun seekers. I made it in just before the heavy rain came for just a couple of minutes, and now it's going to stop and get really steamy. Did a little bit more of a once-over on that car when I shut it down, and I also forgot the umbrella was on the hood and tried to lower the hood and just about mangled my lower back with the fingers of the umbrella. That was fun. So it looks like maybe that engine does indeed have some kind of a problem, but I am going to bring the car in here and re-investigate it. I've got a little cooler atmosphere in my shop here to work in, and I can spend a little bit more time and figure out exactly what direction I'm going to go. Probably will end up seeing if it'll move under its own power with the engine that's in it, whether it blows up or not, and then try to find another engine somewhere for it and maybe spruce it up. I'm planning on taking some of the stuff off of the gbody ugly blue Cutlass. I've been trying to sell that car for months, haven't had any bites. So if you like this video, and you want to see this car again, let me know down in the comments if you do. I've always liked the Oldsmobile G-bodies the best, but you know, you can't beat a Chevy either. So it was a really interesting car when I saw it. I kind of bought it sight unseen, and here we are 2 years later. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you don't like the video, give me a thumbs up, pay it forward. Be a kind and gentle human being. I appreciate all the support I get on YouTube, but I love cars and I love doing these things and I love making these videos. So I appreciate you guys watching and supporting me on this, and I will catch you on the flip side.
See you next time.
All right.
Tune in again.
Thanks for watching.
Yep.